Hi, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Applied Video Technology Tech Talks webinar series. We are joined today by Laytronics, who will be talking about the importance of communication, visual communications for municipalities and schools. Sarah Mason, who is the Inside Sales Manager for Laytronics, will be joining us for that portion of the webinar. And then after, we will be joined by Sean Hensey, who is the project manager here at Applied Video, Mark Patterson, who is the audio video specialist at the City of Bowie in Bowie, Maryland, and Brian Reagan, who is the coordinator of communications media at Upper Merion Area School District. So we will take a few minutes to discuss some of their real world applications and how they're using the technology that Sarah will be talking about. After that, we will answer any questions that may come in. Don't forget to send them in through the question and answer box through your Zoom screen here. Also, we will be recording this webinar so that it will be available afterwards for anyone that may want to watch it or can't join us today. So I also just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce Applied Video, and I do just have a short video here for everyone. If you just
At Applied Video Technology, we know how important communication is in municipalities. For the last 5 years, AVT has worked with government end users to design, install, train, and support custom audiovisual systems to help you better connect with the citizens you serve. Our staff of certified design engineers, project managers, control system programmers, installers, and sales engineers work in partnership to define new approaches to challenges within our municipal clients' process and workflow. Through our years of experience working with governmental organizations at all levels, we have created a unique set of offerings for our government clients that include audiovisual installations in board and chamber meeting halls, community meeting space audio systems, creation and management of your own public access channels and video on-demand portals, community TV stations, and more. We can even provide staff to professionally record, produce, and share your monthly board meetings online. All AVT products and services are available on the PA CoStars and PPM contracts.
All right, so at this point, I would like to just hand the presentation over to Sarah with Laytronics. As I mentioned, Sarah is the Inside Sales Manager with Laytronics, and she has been there for 17 years. So she has a wealth of knowledge about visual communications with both the municipal and the education market. So Sarah, I'm going to hand that over to you, and thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Ashley, and thanks everyone who took time to join us today. Bear with me for just a moment, and you're going to see your screen changing, and I'm going to share some information with you. And there you go. And bear with me for one more moment. All right, and please let me know, Ashley, if you can't see the screen, but I believe we're sharing properly. So certainly we all know that municipalities and schools have a lot of important information to communicate, especially right now. Whether this is helpful information for students or residents, visitors to your community or employees, it's all important. One of the best ways to get the attention of these groups is to use visual communication. Laytronics has solutions that you can use to reach all of these audiences. So we'll start by talking a little bit about some of our IPTV solutions, which can include digital signage and video on demand, as well as a host of other things. Certainly digital signage can be found everywhere. You probably encounter it daily. It's a very impactful way to share your message or your video content. Anywhere you have a TV mounted or hanging, you can have digital signage. This could be information for the public, whether it's about upcoming community or school events, important election information, or local weather, just to name a few. Certainly keep in mind that digital signage doesn't just have to be still images. It can include video as well. And this is something that's often overlooked. Everyone sort of thinks of digital signage as just static images. You can share video of fun or important events that have already happened. like graduation ceremonies, sporting events, festivals, parades, or meetings. You can also create your own original content to share, like video about your town or your school district, or maybe a welcome video for visitors. Digital signage can also be directed to just employees as well, with displays that are placed in staff-only areas. Digital signage could be a single image, or it could be full screen, or a screen with multiple zones like you see here. You can get as busy and as complex or as simple as you need to. So now let's talk a bit about where you might put digital signage displays to have the most impact. Certainly lobbies for City Hall and other municipal public spaces like community centers, senior centers, libraries, recreation centers, police stations. These are all places that we've worked with customers in, and these are all great places to display your content for the public to see, as are school buildings, whether it's the actual buildings with students or administration buildings. And whether this is on individual TVs or a video wall like you see here, you can make all of it impactful. There we go. So employee-facing digital signage can be placed in open work areas or break rooms or meeting rooms or even in individual offices. So lots of choices. Again, if you can put a TV or a monitor there, you can have digital signage there. In addition to sharing videos of events that have already happened, we also have the technology to help you display live events in these same spaces. So a couple of examples of this could be a live speech from the mayor, a presentation from the school board, or a live video from a parade. But regardless of what you choose to display, one very important feature that we can offer you is the ability to display an emergency notification on any of the screens that you're using for digital signage. This can be something as passive and as simple as a warning icon displayed in the corner of the screen for something like a weather alert, like you see here, on up to something that's much more serious and demands the attention of everyone. You're able to control which screens display an emergency message and for how long. When the emergency is passed and you've stopped the message, your screens will all go back to what they were originally showing. We also have solutions for municipal wayfinding. An example of this would be kiosks that you have around town that you'd like to use to display digital messages on, as opposed to posters or other mediums for display that can't be easily or frequently updated. With our technology, you can easily and remotely update whatever is being displayed on a kiosk. Our technology also offers you the ability to use video on demand from TVs or projectors in your municipal or school locations. Oftentimes, this is used for employee-facing or student-facing content, like training videos or lesson plans, but it could also be used for important information or presentations for visitors during meetings as well. If your city or school district has a government or educational access channel on your local cable system, we have products that can help to create and broadcast your video content on a schedule. So this is less IPTV and more broadcast. The most common content for municipalities and schools is, of course, meetings, whether that's council meetings or school board meetings. But in addition to this video, the schedule of content can also include bulletin board content, sometimes called slides or slideshows, like what you see here, just sharing information about things that are happening in the community or the school district. We give you, with our systems, all the tools you need to create slides on your own, or you can upload any slides that you've made using other tools that maybe you're more comfortable with, like Photoshop or PowerPoint. But regardless of how you create the slide, we're able to schedule that for playback on your broadcast channel and mix it in with all of your other content as well. We do also provide you the ability to display your content in zones. So you can display things like local weather or national news headlines, as well as the video that you have scheduled. And within these zones, you do also have the ability to display a Twitter message from your municipal or school account if you have one. So if you really push a lot of information using Twitter, whether it's full screen, you see here in the big zone, we've got a Twitter card, or it could also go in the lower third. You can share your city or your school district's Twitter feed as well. And that takes us to streaming, which right now is one of the most popular topics that we get contacted about, whether it's from a municipality or a school district. And when we talk about streaming, we're talking about web streaming. And there are two kinds of web streaming. Sometimes people use the word streaming to mean one or the other. So I like to make sure we're clear and we're differentiating. There is live web streaming and there's video on demand web streaming. Video on demand is where you post videos of content that you have so people can come in and watch them at a time that's convenient for them. They can, start, stop, move forward, move backwards. They can manipulate the video and again, watch it when it's convenient for them. Live streaming means you're pushing something out live to the web. It doesn't mean that event has to really be happening live. You could have it pre-recorded and you're pushing it out in a live stream, but it just means people are joining in progress to watch it rather than coming in at any time they want and starting and stopping. So we offer solutions for both of those things. We call our service Vibit. There's Vibit Live for live streaming and Vibit Video on Demand for VOD. And we separate them because you don't have to have both. Some places just need one or the other. Budgetarily, maybe you want to start with one and add the other one down the road. Whatever it may be, we like to make sure that you've got the options, to add things when you need to. So our Vibit service can be watched across multiple platforms. So whether that's a mobile phone, a tablet, or a computer, people can watch your content from anywhere. So why would you use something from Laytronics when there are free options out there? Well, the biggest reason is we're hosting for you, as opposed to you trying to take care of this yourself. We're providing the bandwidth in the cloud service, and you'll see a lot of other services we're offering as well. But just a quick note on bandwidth, if you were trying to do this on your own and put it on, computers at your own municipality or school district, you're also sharing that same bandwidth with, in the case of a municipality, all your other departments, maybe first responders. In the case of a school across your whole district, you're already sharing that bandwidth. If you had, a handful of simultaneous viewers also coming in to try to watch a live stream or a VOD video, you're very quickly going to eat up the bandwidth that you have. So that's one of the things that a hosted service provider like Laytronics is giving to you. So why would you want to use Laytronics? Well, one of the big reasons is we give you a nice landing page that you're going to see in just a moment. You want control over what all this looks like. There are certainly more professional options than YouTube out there. You should be in control of the branding on your page. You should be in control of the ads on your page. And you want to make all of your content easy to find. We've probably all watched a video on YouTube that we went looking for. And as soon as that video is done, YouTube decides, based on paid advertisements and algorithms, what video pops up next. It's not going to automatically pop up the next meeting from your municipality, for example. So you don't have a lot of control. So this is what a sample page for what we offer looks like. This would be an account for your municipality that has both live and video on demand. And again, you don't have to have both. But let's talk about what we customize here for you. So starting with the URL, you're able to put in a name up there. So this is the city of Woodstone. So they've chosen to go with cityofwoodstone.vibit.com. So you can pick a name that matches the URL for your regular website so that it's familiar and easy for residents and students and parents to find. We allow you to brand it all over the place. There's no giant Laytronics branding anywhere. It's yours. That can be the header graphic that you see. You can upload a background graphic. We also give you a color picker if you'd prefer to do that. When you have live streams, you have the portion you see at the top where my mouse is circling now. In the case of a live stream, you're able to choose what we call a poster image. So you can upload a graphic and then put in a description. So this says GovTV City Government Live Streaming Channel. You're in control of everything that you see there. Someone comes here, they click on that area, it opens up your live player. If you have video on demand, you have the portion below where you have thumbnails that you've uploaded with titles and descriptions. And then you'll notice on the left-hand side, under video on demand, we have folders. So we've created these folders here. You can create your own folders with names that are appropriate for you. So if you want to take different types of content you have, whether it's different types of board meetings, different student productions, you name it, you can make folders here. So it's real easy for the public to come in and find what they're looking for. And once you start to add things to folders, we automatically create some subfolders for you with a date. We will break it down by year and month. A lot of our municipal customers and our customers who are doing school board meetings will keep meetings on here for 2-3 years or longer. in part to help with FOIA requests and in part just to have a place for people to come find them. So once you get a lot of them on there, it starts to help to have that automatic filtering by date, by year, and by month. And lastly, on the right-hand side, you're going to see what we call our optional sponsor messages. So again, when you're using something free like YouTube, you have zero control over what kind of ads show up. They could be inappropriate, they could just be distracting, whatever it may be, you don't have any control. So here we give you control. If you're allowed to have ads or sponsorships or underwriting, and I know not everybody can, you can use these spaces for that. There's more than 3. Our example here just has 3. Each one of these is also, you're able to add a hyperlink so that someone could click on this, for instance, and be taken to the Neighborhood Brew website. If you can't have ads or sponsorships or underwriting, you can use these spaces to promote things happening within the community or within the school district. So they don't have to be paid advertisements. They can just be you sharing information with the community, or a mix of the two. And if you don't like that, and none of that is for you, if you don't use those, you don't have empty space over there, those go away and everything else fills out nicely. So we also have the ability to integrate with Zoom meetings, which has become very important in the last 6 months. So certainly a lot of you may be using Zoom to hold your public meetings, whether that's school board or city council. And a lot of municipalities and school districts are sharing that Zoom link with the public, and they're joining. And of course, you keep them on mute, but you've got to get that link out there. You've got to make sure you're keeping everybody muted. It can be a lot to manage. So our Vibit Live service has an add-on feature that skips that step for you. With your Vibit Live account, you're able to put in some information in your Zoom account that will point that stream from your Zoom meeting right to this page here. So people can come here and watch your Zoom meeting through Vibit rather than having to join the meeting, which is also helpful for people who are challenged, who don't often use virtual meetings. So it's not familiar to them. So they have a hard time joining the meetings to watch, to watch what's going on. So we skip all that middle portion. You can stream your Zoom meetings right with Vibit Live, and it's an add-on service, and we call it Vibit Meetings. So a few things about using a paid streaming service versus something free. Reliability and support. You can't call YouTube for tech support to find out if a problem with a video you have is on their end or your end. But with Laitronics and with AVT, you've got multiple people that you can reach out to for help troubleshooting things. We give you all sorts of data, all sorts of metrics. So you can see whether it's live or video on demand. You can look over the course of a year or more and see who watched what, when, how many viewers you had. In the case of video on demand, what seems to be the most popular, how long do people tend to watch for? We also integrate with Google Analytics. So we give you a lot of tools so you can see how your streams are being used and viewed. One of the big questions that we get asked is we want to stream our meetings, but we don't think we have anything else to stream, so we don't know if it's worth it to get a hosted service. And I'm here to tell you, you have all sorts of stuff. On top of the meetings, local concerts, parades, other community events. In the case of school districts, you've got commencements, you've got student performances, holiday events. And then whether it's high school or higher ed, you may have access to all sorts of student productions. If your local high school or school district has a video department, or you've got a local university, you may be surprised to find out what you've got that you could also broadcast and stream. The other question we get asked is we don't think we're big enough for streaming. We can't possibly be big enough for streaming. And I am also here to tell you that we have such a wide range of sizes of municipalities and school districts. So we work with somebody as small as the city of Kokoto, Minnesota. You can see their population there, on up to the city of New York City, who streams all of their city council meetings with us. So no matter how big or small, your message is important, and what you've got to share is important to the community that your school is in or that your municipality services. So don't count yourself out. So just a bit about Laitronics before I turn this back over to Ashley. We've been around for, this is our 40th year. We offer 5-year parts and labor warranty on all of our hardware, and we offer free tech support for the life of our products. So even if you've got a product that's out of warranty and you have a question for us, you'll get a real person. We'll answer your questions. We're not going to charge you to pick up the phone or shoot us an email to get back with you. I thank you for your time today. Let me stop sharing here and we'll get things back to Ashley. And there we go. And certainly if you've got questions, as Ashley mentioned, go ahead and use the Q&A chat and we'll get to your questions.
So maybe Ashley's having a little technical difficulty. Sure.
I'm happy to turn it over to you.
It looks like there are two questions here as well. So one is, what is the pricing structure? Are there annual cost or per event or a combination?
I'm assuming that's for streaming and not broadcast or digital signage. So I'm going to answer that as if it is. And if I'm wrong, let me know. So for streaming, it is annual. And we have multiple packages. When it comes to video on demand, you pick based on how much storage you think you need. And you can easily manage storage. So you can start low. And if you start to fill up your storage in the package that you're in, you can either move some content off or you can give AVT a call and we can bump you up, to the next package. In the case of live, you pick a package based on what I'm going to call your guesstimated viewer minutes. You could live stream 24/7, but unless people are watching, you're not using any bandwidth. So we don't tag you until people are watching. So we kind of keep track of its bandwidth, but we try to break it down for you in terms of viewer minutes or viewer hours. And I know that's really hard to guesstimate. So I always recommend start low. You'll see all your metrics. We'll see all your metrics. And if you go over occasionally, your stream doesn't cut off. You're never going to hear from us. If habitually every month you seem to go over what you guesstimated, then we'd reach out or AVT would reach out and we talk about moving you up to the next package. But we're the kinder, gentler company when it comes to that. We're never going to just cut your stream off because you went over because you had a really crazy meeting. And that's happened, especially with New York City.
I'm sure. And you can actually check those on the website, correct? Like
you can.
The month. So
yep.
It's like an ongoing, adding them up. You kind of check. Looks like we have one more question. Viewing a Zoom meeting through the Bybit Live, are you still able to participate in questions or is it just like a live stream of it?
It's just a live stream. So it would be a push. So it'd be for those attendees who just are going to watch, not those who would come to a meeting and wait for the public, question and answer session. So those people would still need to be in the Zoom meeting so you could unmute them and they could talk. But it is a push to help with those people who just want to view.
There we go. All right, perfect. Let me see. Ashley, are you there? Your name popped back up, but okay.
Yes, sorry. Thanks, Sean, for jumping in there with the questions.
No
Lost internet connection there for a second. So thank you, Sarah, for the presentation and for answering those questions. If any more come in, we will certainly get back to that. So at this point, I did just want to introduce our panelists for the day. We have Brian Reagan from Upper Merion School District and Mark Patterson from the City of Bowie, as well as Sean Hensey, who was just on to do some of the Q&A there. He's from Applied Video. So I just, at this point, if each of you could go around and just explain, Sean, we'll start with you, just what your role is with AVT. And I think you've had a part in probably almost every single Laytronics installation that we've done over the course of the last few years. So Sean, if you just want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. So my name is Sean Hensey. I'm one of the project managers at Applied Video. Kind of started in the install role and then migrated into the project manager role. But I do a lot of the broadcast and the video production installs and projects. Work with Mark and Brian on both of their systems as well.
Excellent. Thanks. And thanks for being here with us today. And then Brian, I guess if we wanted to start with you, can you just talk a little bit about your current setup at the school district and how you guys are utilizing some of the equipment that you have there?
So yeah, I'm the coordinator of communications media for the Upper Merion Area School District. And basically, as it relates to using the electronics, we use that primarily as our video distribution out to our cable systems. We're on both Comcast and Verizon. As a school district access channel, we cover a couple hundred events, live events a year. And those could vary everything from, we cover every varsity sport from cross country to golf to football to soccer to swimming, water polo, and so on. We certainly do also cover school board meetings. We're not involved with them as much anymore now that they've migrated over to Zoom, but previously when they were in a different setting, we would be recording them and then airing them through the Laytronics. We have student produced programs that could be interviews, they could be sports highlight shows, they could be, we've had cooking shows, game shows, so on and so forth, concerts, all sorts of different types of things. And so we primarily use the Laytronics as our scheduler for that. So in other words, we don't typically run a message board anymore. We pretty much program the Laytronics 24/7 with live content. And that Laytronics exists as our means of scheduling all of that. Prior to the Laytronics, we actually, this is not that many years ago, sadly, but we were using a Casablanca editing system, and we would kind of position everything such that we would start the programming at 7 and somebody would have to physically come back into the office at 11 or whatever and turn it back off. And that feels like the Stone Ages now, but sadly it probably wasn't that long ago, really. But with the Laytronics, I can program it certainly on my desktop in my office, or I can access in remotely and alter that schedule. But it allows us to 24/7 schedule the channel, adjust it, move it around, do whatever we may want. If we need to push in an emergency message, certainly we can do that. But we primarily use our Laytronics as our scheduler that goes out towards the cable systems.
Okay, so you're primarily putting the information out to the community.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So it's safe to say that the Laytronics has probably made your life a little bit easier, it sounds.
Oh, without question. Then the notion of how we used to do things before wouldn't even be possible now, quite frankly, without it. Just the amount of content that we generate and the amount that we need to push out to people, the Laytronics makes that a million times easier. And as I said to you, even in the email when you asked me to be on, I'm 100% confident that we're not necessarily using the Laytronics to its utmost. And even in the way that we are using it, it unquestionably makes my job easier and certainly allows our communication to our community to go much more smoothly.
Good, good. And Mark, the same question for you. A little bit different role, but I'm sure still communicating out, different programming and stuff from the community. Can you just talk a little bit about how your setup is down there?
We have 3 channels. We have 2 government channels and a public access channel. All of those going out on the 2 cable systems, both Verizon and Comcast. And we also have a Comcast HD channel. So I'm using 4 of the blades. Then I have a backup blade just in case something happens. And we use the digital signage, and we also heavily use the emergency overlay. The public access channel is always doing TV shows with like 1 minute or 2 minutes in between each show that the virtual channel will pop up. And for the government channels, one of them is standard government and the other one is public safety government. And they have different things going on, either by virtual channel that's just cycling through like a slideshow, or scheduled stuff on the scheduler.
Okay. And Sean, I know you've been involved in both of these projects. Is there any other way that you've seen some of our customers using similar equipment, or is it pretty much just kind of what Brian and Mark have talked about here?
I would say there are 2 great examples of how the systems are used. I'm seeing the Vibit system go in a lot more. People are looking to stream, not only, they might use it a combination. So they use like Electronics Nexus to stream out to the community, go out to Comcast and Verizon, and then maybe the Vibit system to stream to their website or on demand or live stream stuff. So definitely like the public access, the government access, and the education are three of the major spots I've seen it. I also see maybe in like the city hall or something, there'll be a TV out front and they'll be broadcasting out there. So it's like a pseudo digital signage type of system as well. Very recently, there was, I was on a campus, it's like a government campus, and there was, I think, over 300 TVs around campus, and they had, it's like all RF, but they actually used one of the Laytronics video servers to feed all their TVs. So I guess you could use it for kind of that setup as well.
Okay, very cool. And then we talked a little bit about this, Sarah did obviously with the increase in Zoom meetings and wanting to get people involved. Brian and Mark, have you seen a change in the way that your information has to be disseminated over the last few months, and anything going forward with the pandemic and how important this type of communication is right now?
We have been including all of our meetings either by Zoom or by Teams. We have been broadcasting those live because of demand. We do have a lot of population that just either doesn't want to join by the Zoom meetings, so they rely on me broadcasting to either our website or to the cable channel. And more people are watching it, are just watching our meetings by the broadcast instead of by joining in on Teams or Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say we don't, obviously our board meetings now are all on Zoom. We don't broadcast them live from Zoom, but we do download them and then after the fact, put them into our Laytronics schedule and air them on a schedule throughout the following week. So we certainly get people to watch it there. And then they are also available. We have an on-demand service on our website that they're also available there. Certainly, we've seen a tremendous amount of increase in terms of the number of people that are watching the meetings, obviously. And I think just in general for us, just live content is obviously, and the ability to live stream, I think is super important, particularly for, educational access channels that are going to be dealing with, for example, the possibility of a winter sports season coming up where maybe there might not be any fans at all allowed, at least is the possibility in our area. And so if that is the case, and if that season does take place, then the ability for us to be able to live stream those events to our community, and for that matter, even just to the parents to be able to watch has been huge. And I think, for people out there that aren't sure, how much they would use, channels like this and opportunities like this, I can't tell you enough how much it shapes the public opinion of a school district, what they see on a school district access channel. You have a tremendous ability to kind of shape the conversation in a way that obviously the district really wants to be shown, and you can control that branding and you can control that content. And I think it's hugely important.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. I agree with it's a important way for us to all get the information that we're looking for, just as citizens, and trying to figure out what's going on with the schools and everything right now. So it's definitely an important communication tool for sure. So just kind of in closing here, do you have any advice for municipalities or schools that are looking to get started with implementing video into their communications plans? I think sometimes it could be a little overwhelming, making sure you have the content, or how you're going to get it all, to figure it all out and get it together, and where do you even start with it? So any advice?
I just think, well, I guess my first advice would be it's going to be easier than you think. I think is my first advice, and I think more importantly, to a lot of schools, it's going to be less expensive than you think too. I think there was a time not that long ago where getting into a TV production, even from an educational point of view, was going to cost you a fair amount of money. And while you can certainly spend a fair amount of money if you have those means, I think that equipment costs and the quality of the equipment at lower price points is way higher than it ever was before. So I think you can produce a very professional looking product for a relatively small amount of money. And a relatively small amount of staffing, particularly if you're a school, which we're blessed with. I have student crews that I can use. And obviously now with COVID, we are limiting those, and there's all sorts of things that go along with that. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, the student crews I'm the only paid full-time professional that works for Upper Merion, and we produce hundreds and hundreds of shoots a year. I do have, some subcontractors that work for me to provide some assistance now and again, but I would just advise anyone who's thinking about it, you can't imagine how you can shape a positive view for your community by producing content and putting it out there. And it will not be as hard as you think or as expensive as you think.
And Brian, is it students is it a class for them, or is it just, something that they're interested in, or as a club, or how do you get the students to be involved?
So we've done it a bunch of different ways, actually. We have had a class in the past. We actually got rid of the class quite a while ago for a variety of reasons, but for us, we do produce it as an extracurricular activity. I know a lot of my partners in other school districts still do have the class. I can honestly say it'll work both ways. The advantage to the class is that you would have built-in staff people to do events. The disadvantage to the class is then sometimes that feels like homework. And so the kids don't necessarily want to sign up to come out on a Tuesday night to film water polo if it feels like homework. And so for us, we've always found the model has worked better that every student who works for me does so as an extracurricular activity. I have some kids that may work once a month. I have other kids that might work 10 times a month, and they all do it by setting their own schedule.
Yeah.
So for us, it's worked better as an extracurricular activity. I do know a lot of my compatriots do it as a class. We're currently in the process of building a new high school. As part of that new high school, I do think we'll probably have a chance to be bringing back the production class in addition, just from space wise and studio wise and that type of thing. That certainly could happen. But for right now, we do it as an extracurricular.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. How about you, Mark?
I would say that I would get started and just have information. Whether you have video content or not, people really love seeing information. For like schools, parents would love to know just what they're having for lunch. Things like that. So that's why our government channels just have informational slides all day, like little knickknacks on code enforcement, little tips on this, little tips on that, different meetings that are going on, things like that. So, it isn't all, just because you have a video channel doesn't mean you have to necessarily have video. Just having information out there. As Brian was talking about, the quality of technology and the quality of the equipment and the prices have come down. And something that ever since April has shown that, you have the late night talk show people operating out of their basements and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to show that you don't have to have professional equipment just to do a show. They were actually running. I have pictures of some of them actually running their show off of iPads and iPhones, and so as another seminar that I was on, they said that it isn't necessarily the quality of the picture, it is the quality of your content. So getting that out there, so that they don't have to have $100,000 studio. You can make a studio for under 10. And start doing your videos and everything, and you'll be amazed at how much it expands from there.
Right. So basically, just jump in and get started and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, like I said, informational slides is what we run during the day, and if we don't run some of those informational slides, like if one of my slides turns off, like the COVID numbers, I have the COVID numbers turn off each day. If I don't update it the next day for the new slides to come on, we do get phone calls.
Yeah.
Okay, because people want to know what the metrics are doing. So,
Right.
so that kind of stuff would be is very good.
Good. Okay. And then just finally, Sean, you know, we're on the integration side of these types of setups. Is there anything that you would recommend people consider when looking at the design and the implementation of projects like Mark and Brian are describing, kind of things that you've learned on the integration side of it?
I mean, some of it's just how many channels you're going to. So like Mark's going to 4 different like Comcast, Verizon channels. You know, so he has 4 different encoders down there, or I guess servers. So if you're going to multiple channels, you might need a couple more boxes. If you're going to a single one, if you want to go live streaming, you might need a different box compared to if you're just going out to Comcast or Verizon. But I also kind of wanted to jump on like that last comment, what they were saying about like technology and stuff. So you can kind of start with one camera filming your council meeting, take that, put it on the Laytronics, and you can either loop that for 24/7 if you wanted to, or you can mix and match that and put in slides like Mark was talking about. So you could have, you know, your council meeting run on the hour if you wanted to, and then if you have 30 minutes after, you could just have informational slides going. So you could literally fill your weekly schedule with one program and then just build from there. And we've seen some that are just all slides. It's just strictly, it almost looks like a PowerPoint essentially. And if you can build a PowerPoint presentation, you can use the slide editor inside the Laytronics software. It's pretty straightforward. The scheduling software is, again, straightforward as well. You essentially have like, it's laid out as a week. You just drag and drop your assets in there, lock it in whatever time you want your programs to start, and it just kind of, you just build your schedule from there. And I know Brian said he was able to do some of this stuff remotely. So especially like in the times we're in currently, you can't always be sitting at your desk in front of one of these boxes. So you can remote in and do your scheduling. You can upload program, and if you edit something, you can take it and upload it to your box from home or essentially anywhere you have internet. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there as well.
Yeah, that's good to know. All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our presentation for the day. Again, if anyone has, I don't think there's any more questions that I see coming through, but if there are any questions, you know, we can certainly follow up after this. And again, this will be, it's been recorded, so it will be available on demand afterwards. But I want to thank Mark and Brian and Sarah for joining us today. We appreciate your time and your support of AVT. And and Sean, thanks for joining in also and providing your technical expertise. So at this point, if there's no other questions, I think we'll sign off, and we'll talk to everybody later.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you.